Hey there everybody, in this video I'm going to review the Ripsey seat bag by Rogue Panda. If you're a short person or if you go bike packing with a dropper post, you're going to want to watch this video. Welcome back Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into things like bike touring, bike packing, bike fishing, then consider subscribing. This channel is for you. So a couple weeks ago, the folks at Rogue Panda sent me their Ripsey seat bag to review. And a lot of you know, if you've watched the channel before, that I always struggle with seat bags that don't hit my rear tire. I'm a shorter person, I ride smaller bikes, so it's always a challenge to find bike packing bags that work for me. So the Ripsey is one that actually does. So the Ripsey uses a removable dry bag. So instead of the bag being one kind of unified piece, it has a removable dry bag that makes it easier to unpack and pack while you're camping. In terms of attaching the Ripsey to your bike, it works a lot like other seat bags out there. There's one kind of strap that wraps around the seat post itself, and then this kind of webbing strap that goes around the rails and hooks onto itself, supporting the bag. One thing I really like about the Ripsey, which is indicative of newer style seat bags, is that this little flap here that goes over the saddle rail doesn't have a buckle. I think the first gen seat bags that we've seen, they had a buckle here, and you know that those things are a pain in the butt to connect when it's full. So the Ripsey comes in two pieces. There is this kind of cradle that attaches to below your saddle, and then there is the dry bag portion. The capacity of the Ripsey is stated at about 8.5 liters, and the dry bag itself is made out of X-Pack, and the seams are sealed with seam grip. To put things in the dry bag portion, you simply stuff things in like you would with any dry bag, and it's got this kind of roll top closure that we've seen in other bags. And when you have this full, the entire thing slides into the cradle portion. Other things to note about the Ripsey is when you put the dry bag portion in here, there is just a single compression strap. So unlike other seat bags out there where there's usually two compression straps where you have to kind of juggle the left and the right, there is just one that you have to deal with. You can really crank it down. And the more I've used these kinds of seat bags, these are the seat bags I really prefer. So other things you'll notice about the Ripsey is actually how rigid this cradle portion is. There's a fair amount of structure on the sides and on the bottom. So what the stiffeners do is they give the bag structure in its part closest to the saddle so it's not hitting your legs. And because there's a stiffener on the bottom, it also helps support the dry bag so it's not rubbing on your rear tire. So like I mentioned earlier, the Ripsey is perfect for those shorter riders or for those that run a dropper seat post. And the main limiting factor with seat bags, of course, is saddle rail to tire clearance. And on the Ripsey, you need at least 5 inches. So that's pretty good when compared to other seat bags that require 6, 8, or 9 inches of clearance. So if you are a shorter rider and you have at least 5 inches from your saddle rails to the top of your tire, then consider the Ripsey. If you're using the Ripsey with a dropper post, you can use it with the wolf tooth valet, which is kind of a stopper in which this wraps around, but also acts as a stopper for the dropper post itself. I don't have a dropper post, so I'm kind of reviewing the Ripsey from the point of view of a shorter person. So that's it for the general features overview of the Rogue Panda Ripsey. I'm going to move on to my likes and dislikes. Starting off with the likes, the first big like is that yes, this is indeed a shorter person friendly seat bag. If you're like me and you always struggle with finding a seat bag that's not going to be slapping your rear tire every time you hit a bump, then the Ripsey is definitely one to check out. There's actually a fair amount of clearance between the bottom of the bag and my rear tire. So if I'm going to go on rough terrain and I'm expecting the junk in the trunk to bounce around, I definitely reach for the Ripsey. Another big like is the build construction. This is actually the first piece of gear I've reviewed from Rogue Panda, but I'm pretty impressed. The material choice and just the general construction and aesthetics is on point. Another big like is the use of the hardware in this sling portion. It's really well thought out. It's durable. I think it's gonna last. This little flap over here, earlier seat bags had a buckle, and we all know how much of a pain in the butt that is to buckle a fully loaded seat bag when you're trying to squeeze it over the saddle rails. So these webbing straps make that a ton easier. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual dry bag portion. So this is X-Pack and it is seam sealed. And on the rides I took the bag out on, we got absolutely dumped on. So even though this isn't your traditional dry bag that's completely welded, I found that everything that I kept in here stayed perfectly dry. So that's it for the likes. Now I'm going to move on to the dislikes, and there's actually not a whole lot to dislike about this bag. If there is one dislike, is that the capacity is a little constraining for me personally. The capacity is 8.5 liters, so you have to be a fairly lightweight packer, I would say, to get everything, or to get most things that you would need in the seat bag. And as you know, carry a lot of crap with me when I go bike touring or bike packing, you know, fishing gear, camera gear. So this bag for me probably won't fit all the things I need for kind of extended tours. Another potential dislike, and I'm only going to throw this out there because I'm sure someone will comment on it, is price. I believe it's going to retail for 150 bucks, but that's just what these seat bags cost. You know, it's on par with everything, and considering it's a small maker and the construction is awesome, I think it's really good value. So that's it for the likes and dislikes. Overall, I really enjoy this bag. I think the construction is top notch and it works well with the smaller bikes I ride. And like I said, the biggest concern is, you know, capacity. But currently for me, it works great for day rides, or if I'm going to overnight and not actually camp, but go into inn or something, then it would be the perfect bag for that. But that's more my packing style than it is an issue with the bag itself. So if you're a short person or go bike packing with a dropper post and are looking for a nicely well-designed, well-made seat bag with a removable dry bag, then definitely check out the Ripsey by Rogue Panda. I believe it should be on the website by the time this video goes live. This is kind of a first look at kind of their early samples. And if you guys have any other questions about the Ripsey, leave those in the comments below. I'll try to get the folks at Rogue Panda to answer them. And if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with the world. And until next time, ride bikes, travel, and do good.